Welcome to the demo for the Create a New Pattern session. In this session, we're going to create an interactive 5-star rating pattern, and we'll be placing that pattern on a screen. The pattern should be able to be interactive so that when we click on a particular star, it will actually fill in and update the stars, and the pattern will be able to notify its parent, which in this case is the screen, and the screen can have an event handler. And in this example, we're going to have our screen simply display a message on the screen about what type of rating was provided. We're going to build the 5-star rating pattern by starting with a structure and then give it its on-click behavior with an action. So the structure is going to be an if widget structure that defines if the rating is active, it will have a full star, and if not, it will have a hollow star. This will depend on the rating value at the moment, and what we'll do is for one particular if block, when it's correctly configured, we'll go ahead and duplicate that 5 times, and then we'll make sure that it's styled properly so that we have gold stars or whatever color stars we want instead of the default black and white. Now once we have the 5-star structure, then we need to provide its behavior. So we'd like someone to be able to set a new star rating and then it to be able to notify the parent. And that will occur inside of an action flow where when someone clicks on one of the stars, it will set the new rating, and then once the new rating is set, it will trigger an event that can tell the screen or any other block that the stars have been changed. So in reality, we'll be doing 3 things. We'll build the structure, we'll create the behavior for our pattern, and then we're also going to modify the screen to be able to send a message about what's happened. So we have a lot of work to do. Let's go ahead and get started. Here in Service Studio, we're starting with an empty mobile module. So we've created a new application called 5-star, which has a new module called 5-star. And we can get started by working in the main flow. And to create a custom pattern, the first step would be to add a block. We're going to call that block 5-star, and for our 5-star block we're going to need some input. So we have to know how many stars we're going to begin with. So we'll call that our rating, and the rating should be a number, so let's make it an integer. And now that we have our block with the right input, what we're really building here as a custom pattern is a very graphical and interactive pattern. So let's just go to the toolbox and we'll grab an if and we'll place it inside of the canvas. Now what we're really trying to do here in the if is decide whether to show a highlighted block or an empty highlighted star or an empty star. So we need a condition, and that condition would be if the rating is greater than or equal to, in this case we'll start with 1 star. So if the rating is greater than or equal to 1 star, then with this if, we now know that true should be showing 1 star and false would be showing an empty star. So to be able to do that, we just go to the toolbox and grab the icon, and we search for stars. And since this is the true, we can see that we have a filled in star and we have a hollow star. So we'll grab the filled in star, and then we'll go back and drag and drop another icon, and we'll do it to the false, and in the false branch we'll use the hollow icon. So now we have an if that says if we need this, then we can use these as the different ratings depending on what is there. Now I'm going to highlight the icon tab and go down to the if statement. So the if is including both of the pieces that we've started with here. I'm going to right click and ask it to enclose this in a container so that those two stars are now a unit, because we want to be able to create a 5-star selection. When we look at this container, we see that the container has its handle pulled all the way to the end. So we could try to adjust this and change the columns that our container is going to take up, but in reality we don't need any containers or spacing at all. We'd like this to be as small as possible. So we'll just delete the width, and by deleting the width it immediately collapses to just the size of the icons that we need. Now this container that is wrapping this set of stars, we want to be able to change this rating and show that number of stars or not, depending on what happens when you click the rating. So if you click on the star and this was the 3rd star, we'd like to change it to a 3-star rating. So we've created the interaction now to be able to click on our stars, and now we want it to react. So we're going to create a new client action that is referred to as onClick. And in this onClick, what we'd really like to do is assign or set the current rating. So we'll say set current rating as a description of what our assignment will be. And in this case, what we really need is that this onClick needs input as well. So the input to the onClick should be the clicked rating. So we'll call that clicked rating, and again it should be able to tell us which number of stars is available. So we didn't quite get that one right there, integer. So now we've got a clicked rating, which will be the number of stars, and we have the rating in the block itself. So inside of our assignment, what we'd like to be able to do is set the rating for our block overall, and we'd like to set it to whichever star someone's clicked on, which will be the clicked rating. So there may have been some rating to start with, and now someone's changing the rating or overriding it. So this will allow us to set the rating to whatever the new clicked rating will be. So that helps us align everything that we need, which is good. We also want to be able to look at the onClick, and when we go back up to the block, we now see that this container is red. So the container is red because we've added an input that is required, and there is no input here. So we're going to go ahead and set that input to 1 because this is our 1st star and it's a 1-star rating at this point. Now we again want this to be a 5-star rating. So what we can do to update the graphics of our structure here a little bit faster is this is now a well-behaved single-star rating, but we want it to be 5. So let's right-click on this container, and we can copy this container, and Service Studio lets us very quickly and easily paste another one right into the 5-star block. So if I just paste, I get a second one, and I'm going to do this 3 more times, and we're going to end up with a 5-star rating. So now we have all 5 stars. The only problem that we run into is that in the 2nd star, we still have the clicked rating as 1. So we'd want that to be 2. And in the if statement, we'd want to make sure it's checking that that rating is greater than or equal to 2. So we're going to update each of these for each container, depending on the star order that it is in. So we'll change the rating for the 3rd one to 3. We'll make the container for the 4th one 4. Updating the if as well. And last but not least, the 5th star, and the 5th if test. So all of those look good. Now, the other thing that we'd like to do is when we work with this 5-star rating, we'd like all of this to behave as one unit. So I'm going to highlight all of the containers, right-click, and enclose them in a container. And this way, now there is a parent container to all of the individual containers. And for this parent container, we'd like to be able to set the style for all of the stars in exactly the same way. So we could do this in a number of ways. Here what we're going to do is we'll just go ahead and set a style here in the attributes. And we'll set the style to go ahead and say color is gold. And if I hit enter, well, I guess I should make sure that this is quoted. And now we can see that the gold stars are available in the palette. So the change to the style immediately takes effect. So we have our 5 stars, and we have the ability to go ahead and update them, and the colors and the styling look good. So now inside of our 5-star rating, we want to make sure that we can adapt to what you've chosen, but once those 5 stars have changed, there are other things on a screen or other things in other blocks that may wish to react to this. So because there's interaction between our base pattern and the things around it, we may wish to be able to add an event. So we would be able to throw an event and make sure that people understand that the rating has changed. So we'll call this a rating changed event, and the rating changed event would need to know what the change was. So we'll add the input parameter and we'll call it the changed rating so that it'll know it's an updated rating and it's different. And again, this rating needs to be an integer as well. For some reason it doesn't like to take that. All right, so we know now our changed rating is an integer, our clicked rating is an integer, and our original rating are all integers. So things are consistent, and that's good. So when would we throw this event? Well, when someone clicks, the onClick event calls the onClick handler, and then we change the rating. So what we can do is trigger the event from here so that once we make this change and we complete this action, we'll go ahead and throw the rating changed event. And by triggering that event, then any of the parent components above us would be able to react to that. Now, to be able to do this, we have to tell it what the changed rating is, and the changed rating would be whatever was just clicked on. Now, in this case, we want to pick the clicked one because it's the one that is associated with this action. But since we just assigned the rating to be the clicked rating, we could have used either one because the assignment made them equivalent. So this sets us up to be able to do all the pieces that we need. So we can actually come back to the home screen and we can take our 5-star rating new pattern in its block and drag and drop it to the canvas. Now when we do this, you can see that this pattern is red, and there are two things that it's looking for. It's looking for the rating. So this is sort of the initialized rating of what should the rating be when it starts. And we can go ahead and set it to a 1-star rating to begin with. And then it's also asking about the handler. And the handler in this case is how should the parent or anything else go ahead and react when the ratings are changed. So we'll add a new client action here, and you can see it automatically gives it a name. The block was 5-star, and the event is rating changed, and since this is the handler to handle this event for the 5-star, it gives us that name. So sometimes it helps to think about the naming ahead of time. And in this case, for the 5-star rating, we're seeing that the parent, the actual screen, would be notified. So one simple thing we could do is have the screen just post a message. And we can post a simple message. Let's go ahead and just create some text, and we'll say, "Thank you for your rating." And then we'll give it a little space, and in this case, let's put the rating in there. So the rating is actually going to be the changed rating. And if we put another plus sign, we could close the parenthesis. And now we have a simple text message that's going to go back saying, "Thank you for your rating," and just reaffirming to you what that rating was. And this changed rating will be passed up to the screen from the block that we created. So let's go back to the home screen. Let's publish this. All right. So to test this in the browser, here we see the 1 star that we said it would start with. Let's go ahead and change it to a 3-star. And it says, "Thank you for your rating" on the 3-star. If we ask it to go to a 5-star, "Thank you for your 5-star rating." So this was an example of creating a simple graphical pattern to give you an idea of the types of things that you can do and how quickly you can create your own pattern. That's it. Thanks for listening.